What up, Dominik? We're here. We're live. It's Friday. It's probably late for you over there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 7 p.m. Hey Zach. But we've actually had like we had a public holiday yesterday, so today was kind of like a day between holidays and like nobody's really working today, I guess.
Gotcha. What's the holiday?
Good question. I don't know. May has like in May we have like I think 4 or 5 public holidays, and most of them are on Thursday. So it's pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll just call it May Day. That's like a
That's
thing.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's uh let's jump into what we're looking at today. So, you had tweeted out originally something along the lines of let me know if you want to do a stream to get rid of your use effects. And I got a lot of use effects. So,
Awesome.
I took you right up on it. I've got I think this is a live site for a course I made with Fireship. It's pretty much like a Reddit clone, but it's not advanced enough to have the idea of subreddits. So we just kind of have like a message board over here.
Okay.
If you're logged in, you can create a new post, and like the posts just go here, and they're just like sorted by uh, post points. So
Perfect.
as a user, I can like upvote and downvote these things. The score, we'll see the score update. So there's a couple things we could do with this. I think the right way to approach it is like we were talking about before off stream. We could just do like a control find for all my use effects and try to exterminate them all. I would be all for that. There's another interesting piece of this, I guess, too, which would be Supabase has like a real-time update piece to the API that I'm
Okay.
actually not using. I'm using it in one place right now, and that's for the username. So if you ever change your username, we'll see that update live.
Best
But
use case.
I would love to do it for like a lot of these other things too. So I don't know. Maybe we can jump into that. But let's start by doing what we had mentioned and just see what we can do for use effects. Let's see how many I got in here. 11 results. I feel like that's not
That's
too
not too
bad.
many. That's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey. I did something good here. All right. Which one's a good one to start with? Let's
I mean,
see.
just looking at the first one where it says all posts, it sounds
hmm
like this is probably going to be a fetch that fetches a list of posts, and this is something we can probably React
Yeah.
queryify. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks like a good one. Interestingly, I'm doing like two requests at once here with this promise.all,
Okay.
but I don't think that's that big of a deal. And this is a pattern I hated using, but I couldn't figure out a better way around it when I was first doing this. I have this idea of a bumper, and the bumper just exists. It's just like a use state of zero. And whenever I do something, like this is my way of invalidating a cache,
Okay.
essentially.
Okay.
Like, does that make sense? So, okay. Let's see what we can do for this. So, I guess splitting it up, there's two. Um, there's
There's
get
actually
posts.
three.
Is
There's
there?
there's also like there is this you set the posts, and then if you have a user use no a bit up line 35 and onwards,
hmm Oh, I
you're
see.
doing
Yeah.
you're doing another one. So that's kind of fetching the votes or
hmm
the what does it do?
Yes. So this is first for this one. We're going to get all of our posts, and we're going to get all of the data for them
Okay.
for a certain page number. So I guess this is paged. But then, if we are logged in, if we can see that there's a user on our session, then we're going to make a subsequent call. So this is going to get all of the post votes for this user. So this is how we're populating like this number right here, for example.
Okay. Can you scroll back to the code, because I'm just wondering, are those like dependent on each other, or because the post votes runs after the get posts,
Mm-hmm.
but are they even dependent on it? Is there anything that you're taking from the data from line 32 and you're using it inside the second like
I th-
request, or are they
I think not. I think it looks like what I had maybe intended to do originally was to only get the post votes for ones inside of the post, like ones that were returned from the given page. Because remember, this is paged, so I didn't want to grab all of the posts, all of the post votes. I just wanted to grab the ones for that post, but I don't think I'm doing that looking at this. Do I ever use data inside of here? I don't think so.
No, it just gets another data. So that's cool. That means
we could just like lift this up and parallelize it or put it inside the promise.all, right? So cool.
So, but if we just go with use query for those three things, then we're basically, I think we're looking at three different specific queries. One is the posts, one is the post votes, and the other one is the count. Yeah, if the count is like a separate request that we want to make, then this can also be like a separate query.
Yeah, I believe this is only for being able to set the pagination data here. So, yeah.
Okay, so it gets the number of pages that we want. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes,
cool.
That's with the Supabase API, adding a count here to the select. That's what's going to do that, I believe. So
okay, perfect. Then maybe this is a very good like first piece to do. Like it's just let's start with taking one request that's going to be like independent and everything, and we extract this one thing to our to our query, obviously, and then we see how that goes. And then maybe we can do some more of those, and maybe we can get rid of all of them at the end.
Sounds good. Yeah, let's kill them all. All right, where do we start? I imagine we want to start by installing TanStack query. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm using Yarn here, and is there a version we should be targeting? Do we want to look at version 5, or is that not ready yet?
Well, that depends on how on the edge you want to be. So version 5 is in alpha, but I think it for the things
I'm ready.
You're ready. Let's go. Then
awesome.
Let's do yarn add TanStack
query.
It's React query at alpha.
Oh, okay. React query at alpha.
Yeah. And then the next thing we're going to add before we do anything is we're going to add the DevTools, because without the DevTools, you're basically flying blind.
Yeah.
So it's the React -query -DevTools.
Okay. React. Yeah. Query DevTools.
And also the alpha version. Oh no, now you did the that's the wrong one. So we need.
I think I got it in time. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And then we're going to see like the cool thing that Arian did. We're going to see the new DevTools, which have been written in Solid.js actually, and they have adapters for like all the other frameworks, and they're like redesigned and everything. So if you're familiar with how the DevTools look, the new ones look way better, I would say.
Cool. Well, I'm not actually super used to them. So we got a comment here. I know the answer to this, but I'll let you answer it, Dominik. It implies the existence of other TanStack queries.
What does the React query one? Yeah.
So there's a whole slew of them. So
there is. So the TanStack generally is framework agnostic. So you can also install, for example, the query core package, which is just TypeScript and some sort of our own observable implementation, and you can just set this up and use this without a framework with, I don't know, maybe jQuery or whatever you want. But for like a lot of the common frameworks like Vue or Solid and Svelte and React, we do have adapters written that are built on top of it, and they all come in the same monorepo that uses an X, by the way, as you know, because you've contributed it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I know there's a whole bunch of TanStack queries because I set up vtest for all of them, and that was hard. That was a pain in the butt. But yeah, shout out to Aryan and Jay Larkey in the chat, by the way. But yeah, sorry, I feel like I've ruined your train of thought by trying to include the guests here, Dominik. But let's.
No, that's perfect. I didn't see the chat, so
yeah.
Good to see you all. especially Aryan as well, because we're going to show off the things that he did as well, like the DevTools. So
awesome. So this is the Aryan that did the DevTools we're about to put in.
Yes, he's our maintainer of the solid query adapter, and he's also doing obviously some stuff in the query core. He's contributed to version 5, all the great things that we're working on, and the DevTools are one of them. Yes.
Well, hell yeah, awesome to have you in here, Aryan. Let's one thing I had to ask about too, Dominik, was I just like turn off strict mode a lot because I don't like this whole like double fetching of stuff. That's like you kind of do on purpose, I feel like, in def mode. Like that's the whole point of this, is to try to like double trigger those use effects to make sure you're not doing anything really dumb. But I don't like seeing that because it colors my network tab when I'm trying to debug stuff. So I turn it off. Should I turn it back on if we're going to start trying to go into like into TanStack query stuff or React query stuff?
So the good news is that, well, first of all, yes, you're right. So the strict mode exists to basically stress test your application in development mode. And most people kind of hate that you see the fetches twice.
Yeah.
But this is exactly what happens when your user moves to a page and your fetch takes a bit of time. Maybe it takes 2 or 3 seconds, and then they move away and then they come back. Or if React has this new off-screen API where kind of like they might trigger effects more often, you want to be ready to not run into race conditions or similar situations. The good thing about using it with React Query is that you can turn on the strict mode, and it will still fire like the data fetching or the effect, if you will, under the hood. It will fire it twice. But React Query has this request deduplication built in anyways. So what happens is that the second time the observer mounts and tries to say, hey, I want to trigger that query, we will say, oh, it's already running. And because this unless your query is like in under 1 millisecond or whatever, I don't know how fast React is with these internal shenanigans, but usually it just deduplicates the thing and you only see one network request in the network tab. So it just picks it up and goes from there. Yeah.
So especially if we're leading more into TanStack query stuff, we should definitely turn strict mode on, is what it sounds like. Yeah.
We can do that, yeah.
Let's do that.
Actually, the React strict mode, when they made the strict effects, we found 2 edge case bugs in our library, in React Query itself.
Because of strict mode.
Yes, because we saw what happens when you fetch and then quickly unmount and fetch again. We had like one leak and one tiny situation in there. So that was interesting. And it like kind of helped me fix edge cases and I think that's what it's for, right?
Yeah,
it helps you make your application resilient, and it has helped us with the library as well. In one of our test cases, we had that. So I'm not against what they're doing with it. Maybe it would have been good to kind of opt out of like strict effects, but I think usually the React team knows what they're doing. So
are there options on strict mode? I actually don't know.
Nah.
No.
It's either all or nothing, and that's why. Yeah.
Boo. All right, that sucks, but it's all right. But yeah, we have a question in the chat here, and this is something I'm kind of interested too. Do you mind if I? Are you okay with me throwing in the questions here, Dominik?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do it.
Absolutely.
So server components, do they kill React Query or simplifies use cases? Let's hear it.
How much time do we got?
I'm ready to go until you're done, man.
Yeah, this is obviously an interesting question, a question that I'm getting a lot lately, and I've actually made up my mind to write a blog post about it.
Hey.
Because cool. it took me also some time and everybody else to adjust to this new architecture that server components bring. It's not like we have an answer like, oh, server components are here. Yes, I know exactly what to do with them, right? So this is kind of sometimes the requirement, basically, right? Or the people have, like they want to know the answers to all those problems. But we maintainers, we kind of like we don't have that much head start, especially for server components. There wasn't really much that we knew up front. So it took us some time to actually iterate and see how we can use it and what the plan is. But the kind of the summary or the thing that we are very likely going to communicate is that if you're starting a new application and you're going all in on server components, on the app directory, then you probably will not need an additional tool like React Query. And this is pretty similar to what is going to happen, for example, if you are using Remix. It's also it's a full stack framework that supports server and client side, and that has a very good story around data fetching and mutations and routing, obviously. So if you're using a framework that has all your needs covered, then there is no need to use a tool that doesn't give you anything additionally, unless there is a use case where it gives you something additionally. So if you're working with server components and you want to do an infinite query where you kind of scroll down and fetch some more, maybe server components will have a solution for that. Right now, there is not much as far as I know. So if you want that, you can still use React Query for it. Or if you go in situations like you want offline support, or you want persist your data to local storage to restore it even faster for a user. Those are all situations where React Query has good support that is stood the test of time already. And server components are pretty new, but once you have a framework and you're using that, and their built-in story is so good that you just want to use that, then I'm not telling you to use React Query at all costs, because it's just a tool that should make your life easier in the situations where you need it. So we're not going to say you have to use it in every situation, because it's a hammer and everything's a nail, right? The further the frameworks move, the less need there will be for a tool like React Query, and that's a good thing, right? Because I think that they've also looked a bit at what people have done in this data fetching and mutation space, and are also going to maybe bring the best parts of it to the frameworks directly, and that's always a win.
I think that makes sense. I'm resonating with Jay Larkey's comment here. React Query and RSCs is like Redux in React with hooks. It still makes sense sometimes. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think like React Query will be kind of like old school XHR kind of requests, just like
that's still around.
Like that's where it's going to be. Like we'll have the equivalent of like the remix loaders, or in Next get stack props or get server side props to get the initial load. And I haven't looked too much into the story for React Server Components, so I may not know what's going on, but it seems like for anything where the client app is running, you don't want to trigger a page refresh, but you do want to dynamically get data from the client, not make the round trip to our server and then back to the client again. That's where something like React Query is still going to make sense. So,
and it's also going to, like, maybe final point on this, it's also going to be a good way to migrate from existing stacks that you have, applications that use the pages directory and want to go to the app directory. I mean, we're talking about, okay, what happens if you start a new application now? But most of the cases will not start like on a greenfield project right now and going to choose one of those stacks. So there is still going to be a lot of use cases for React Query. We're not even talking about those cases that are not using Next.js or not using server components, are doing something else. And then obviously there's the Vue world and the Solid world, right, where we also have our libraries. So I don't think React Query is going anywhere. No, it's not going to get killed by server components, but it was definitely not built for a integration with a framework that has a good story around data fetching and mutations. But we have a good integration for them anyways. So I think that's where our story is.
All right, killer. All right, let's push on with getting our DevTools in here. Should I add it as a sibling to our app, or should it be a child of the app?
If this is our top level, well, it depends on what we're doing in app. So
Sure.
wherever you would put your provider tree, that's where I would kind of put, like, in the app sounds fine. Then if there's your router and it doesn't have any children yet, okay.
Yeah. We'll just make it as like a sibling to our router provider. And what's the name of the component?
It's the React Query DevTools.
Okay.
This one, bottom one.
Okay.
But we're also going to need the query client provider that's going to be on top of it. So that's what we would that this could go instead of your fragment, for example. I don't know what the router provider does, but I would just put it at the top. Instead of the fragment, let's do the query client provider.
Query client.
Yep. And then we need to pass a client to it that we need to create. So client, and then we're just going to, outside of our application, we're going to create a const client. Exactly. Copilot's right about that.
Copilot is scary good. All right. Client, anything params here?
Nah, let's just go with the defaults for now. We can look at some.
Cool. Let's see. Over here.
Yep, and I already see the DevTools at the bottom right.
Hey!
There's this shiny little new TanStack logo.
Yeah, it's not responding to my browser zoom. It's all right.
Oh, should the logo get bigger? I don't know. We're gonna.
I don't know.
Everyone can take notes.
It's like only a stream thing. Like normally, like this would be the size I'd be at, right? So, oh, it does respond to going smaller. Interestingly, but it does. It seems like. Oh no.
Oh no, it does. There you go.
I don't know what I was doing before, but maybe because it's open. Well, I lost it. Okay. I clicked it and it disappeared.
Alpha version. Oh no, we have it multiple times. Why do we have it multiple times? Is your...
Yeah. Did I do... What did I...
Oh, you ran it.
I literally have it in there multiple times, so...
Okay. See, that also works. That's nice.
Good to know. We're stress testing it all. Cool. We got
the strict
another...
mode of the DevTools.
I know. Yeah, exactly. And then we have a question here. Any plans for the official React Query course? Oh, this will be interesting. For the changes brought by V5, or will there be a new official course? What say you, Dominik?
I can say that yes, that the course will be updated and it will be a new course. I can say that I am already working on it. Yeah. That's as much as I can say.
Cool. Yeah, we'll keep some of that secret. All right.
It's not a secret, really. It's just it's good. You know,
you don't want to overpromise. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Well, we've got our DevTools. There's not much going on because we're not using anything now, right?
Yeah,
so,
it's empty. Yeah.
Okay. But we have our clients being thrown in, so we'll be able to use that client, I guess, with the use. How do we jump into using this? I guess let's go back to our all posts here. So this is where we're doing the data fetching. So how do we want to pull this out?
So we don't really need like the client per se. You can get access to the client with the use query client hook, and then you can do some things like invalidation and stuff like that. But we don't really need that, right? We just need the client in the provider tree so that use query internally can access it. So the first thing that I would do is, can you maybe take just the one request that we're going to take out, which is I would say we start with the bottom one, right?
Just the count here.
Yeah, the total pages one, right? And then let's start with putting it into a custom hook, because I think even though we could start with just a use query here and there, I think custom hooks are very likely the best abstraction that we want for writing queries. So let's do it could be right here above. Let's just do a use count or post count or pages. Yeah, page count query.
Query, okay.
Can be query, doesn't have to be query, right? It's just whatever
convention.
we want.
Let me post this in and let me pull it out from in here so I don't forget about. Did I already pull it out? Yes, I did.
Yep.
Okay. Good deal. Okay.
Let's ignore the error for now. And what we want to do is we want to return whatever we get back from calling use query. So I would start with invoking the use query hook that comes from React Query. Yeah.
Use query.
Yeah. And since we're in version 5, it only takes one object. So that is one of the breaking changes that we have. This is a syntax you can already use in version 4, and we have a lint rule for that. And there are two things we need to pass to it, a query key and the function. And the key is going to be something, it must be an array. So we can put in, I would maybe like let's try to think about what we want to have as final data result. Then page count is kind of like generic if we have like multiple things that where we want page counts. So I would prefix it with posts and then page count. Like we can say, okay, everything that's post related starts with posts. And with prefixing, I mean making like 2 separate entries in the array. So it can be an array of two items. One is posts and the other is page count. And that is a good way to go about it, because your query keys in React Query are actually forming a kind of a hierarchy. So you can target multiple of those kind of tags when you do invalidate queries afterwards. So you can invalidate everything that you have annotated basically with posts, for example. So that is a kind of the standard way to structure your query keys is with this array notation.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So query function, I imagine that's going to look essentially like what we copied and pasted in.
Yes.
Correct? Cool.
Pretty much.
Do we just want to return pretty much what we've got?
We can return pretty much this, yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. Boom.
And then the question is pretty much, what do we do with this transformation at the end that takes the null count and transforms it to 0?
Yeah.
That's
my initial thing would just be like, let's just return it instead, like so. Or is that a bad idea?
No, that's a good idea. So we can. There's like I have a blog post about how to do data transformations, and there's like 3 ways to do them. And one of them is exactly like this, directly in the query function. And it has advantages and disadvantages. And in this case, I think it only has advantages because we don't actually want to store the raw result, because whatever we return from the query function is going to be stored in our query cache. So if we want to have like one result stored and then different results derived from there, then we can choose a different form of transforming the data. But here it's just about transforming null to 0 and doing some rounding, I guess. So that's totally fine.
Yeah, what I'm actually doing here is just getting the total count and then dividing it by 10, because that's how many I want to show per page. This might be a better way to do that with the API, but I don't know. I think I've got some mismatching here of parentheses maybe, or no, it doesn't look like it. What's it saying exactly?
It returns a promise like. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Is this because Supabase does it like that?
Yeah, Supabase has some weird stuff going on with the with their API on how these promises work. So you'll need to like then it in order to actually get the thing to fire. So it's like chaining, but the chaining doesn't actually work the way you would expect it to. So like chaining up till you then it or await it, because awaiting is just going to then it kind of behind the scenes. When we call the then, that's when the request is actually going to be formed and be sent out. So that's probably why there's this type error here. So you said it was like a promise like right here.
Yeah, it says the type promise like is not assignable to type number or promise of number, and I'm not sure where this promise like is coming from.
Yeah, it's definitely coming from the Supabase API.
But maybe.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking it might work better if we do an async function and just do async await, because maybe then it just transforms it to a normal promise.
Sure. So can we do it just like that? Like say this is an async function now, and then
we can,
wait here.
And then we do,
And then I think constant.
And then count,
Then.
And then you just return like this line, line 24.
Right. And I think we'll need an extra something in here, right?
No, I think it's too many. Oh, well, okay. Do you have prettier? Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah. Prettier is messing me up right now because I don't like this. Let me see if I can just actually jump in. Do I have like a prettier config? No, I don't.
But I think it's the best way to know when your opening and closing brackets match, because if you save and it doesn't reformat, you know there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And as soon as it reformats, you got it.
Yeah, in general, like I rely on Prettier so much just to make sure my syntax is correct. Like I'll just spam Command S to save, and if I don't see Prettier hit coming in, I'm like, oh, I must have messed up somewhere. But yeah, especially on parens and braces, it's nice. So
Yeah. Cool.
okay, so we've got our use query, and we're passed it our query function. We passed it our query key. So we do we need to return something from our hook now? Because
Well,
right
we
now
need to
we're just
return.
wrapping.
I would just return what use query returns. So
Okay.
in line 19, I just added return before use query. I kind of like to just return whatever use query returns, and this
Okay.
will basically give you the best type inference. So we haven't written
Yeah.
a single type for anything. We just see we get a use query result of number and error,
I like
and
it.
that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll use this inside of our component, I imagine, or I'll
Yes.
let you drive me. Okay.
Sure.
Cool.
Let's do that. Yep. That was good.
Is this how you normally do it? Use page query like so.
Yeah.
And then we can get rid of like page number. So page number is actually, that's the URL param. What was I doing? It was called, I was like setting.
There was some set state, the total pages. Yeah. So it's the total pages that we can get rid of. So we can just say, for example, we can say const total pages.
Pages.
And then equals page query. So it needs to go below that. Yeah. Page query.data. And then we still have this. This was something that I think it wasn't handled before, but we have this situation that data can still be undefined,
Right.
because we have this, even though like we've taken away the null from the count in the query function, it can still be undefined because we have like,
we're still waiting for it to return.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. A promise needs to wait to resolve. So you have like these three states. You have pending, and then success or error in case when it works or it doesn't work. But the quick case is just, okay, just give me whatever I have, and then in case of error or in case when it's still loading, we're just falling back to whatever we want, and then then we have a number. Yeah.
Good deal.
So that's
set,
it basically.
Right?
It should still work. Yeah, it should still work like before.
Yeah, let me actually see. I have yarn tests. This maybe takes a little while, but I have end-to-end tests set up for the entire project. So everything we're doing here should just be one for one. So we can just
unless we would need to, if we have a test suite and that renders components, we would need to wrap them in a query client provider as well, because otherwise use query will not work in the test setup.
Yeah, I actually, the way this is doing, this is actually running Playwright. So we're actually like, this is going through and
perfect.
On each run, it's actually going to reset the database too. So I start it clean. So we actually had a flaky result here, but it did pass the second time. So I don't know what the flakiness is about. Let me throw over the results here so everyone can see them. But everything else worked. Just had one that had a retry. And let me see if that makes sense for what we had just done. Logging in from a post. Well, I'm going to chalk that up to flakiness in the tests, and we'll keep going because it passed the second time. There we go. All right. Cool. So we got rid of, well, we haven't got rid of the useEffect yet, but we've seen, like, this is the basic building block, I feel like, for getting one of these queries. At this point, it's mainly rinse it and repeat from what I can tell. Yeah.
Yeah, because like the other query, the get posts and the post votes, since they are not dependent on each other, we can just also make like two separate hooks, and then we just call three hooks.
Yeah, let's. You mind if I just copy and paste what we had here, and we'll start moving things around. So let's do post votes. Use post votes. I think this is actually. I think before I had said like this is all the votes for the post, but I think it's actually just all the posts for the user, and that's just so we can like know which one. if we go to the live one, that's just to let us know like which to color in green or which to color in red, to know which one my specific user is. I don't know if that's super relevant for what we're looking at, but let's say use users post votes, and we'll grab from here. So there is the contingency here, this if statement. Like this doesn't need to go into then, I don't think, but I would want it to be still conditional on if our session, on if we're in a session where a user exists, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Should I bake that into the hook here as well? So just kind of like lift, should I lift the session? So move this line up, or copy and paste this line up?
Okay. Exactly. So if this is the only reason why we have the session in the all post, then I think we have an even bigger win, because we can just scope the usage to the custom hook. Because if you take a look at all post and it uses session a bunch of times, then it might be needed. But if it's only needed for like the specific situation, then we actually also get rid of one hook invocation. But
yeah,
it's totally
I think we actually do want to use it, because we only want to show like we only want to show this if we're logged in.
Yeah.
If we're not logged in, we want to like kind of prompt the user to log in, I believe is what we'll do. So cool.
Okay.
Let's so we have our session here, and we're going to use query, but we're going to use instead this block of code right here.
Yeah, let's just copy that, and let's leave out the if just paste it in, and then we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Because I already have a picture in my head of how it should look like. And we're gonna scratch away like all the
yeah, it makes sense. Let me do like we'll move this to async await first.
Yeah.
Await. And so we can, I don't know. At this point, we have our data. I guess that kind of works still. Only instead of setting my votes, we would just here.
We return the result. Yeah.
Return votes. Yeah.
Okay. One thing that we cannot do is we cannot return undefined from the query function. This is one limitation. You will see a warning at runtime, because undefined is reserved for queries that are either in error state or in loading state. So there is undefined cannot be used to represent the successful query data. So if you'd want something else, you can return null, or you can return an empty array or whatever it is, or an empty object. Whatever it is that you want to actually represent the correct structure. Yeah.
Good deal. I think that looks right, because I believe what I expect to send is like this, essentially a hash map of the votes, like or the post ID, and then like either an up or a down or an undefined. So I think just empty hash map is the way to go there. Let's see. This looks about right. I don't like this any. That should be up, down, or undefined. But maybe it's this line that's doing that.
Yes, looks like it. So
let me just
maybe we need to give this a type as well.
Yeah. And no.
So why is it any? That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I imagine. Let's see. Data. Votes data.
Oh, data has any. See, that's it.
Yeah. Part of this is there is capabilities of the Supabase client to have to like generate types based on actually your database instance, but I'm not doing that right now actually. So we'll have to either, if we want to get like the proper types, we'll need to actually, I think,
okay, you know what?
Type these.
What I would do is give the query function itself a return type of promise of records, and then whatever, and then
and then see where we get red squigglies out here. Sounds good.
Because in best case scenario, it just takes the and that's also going to show us the next issue that I wanted to point to. Yeah, but in general, we could then get rid of the type assertions, I think, because it would just at least the one that we've already added for the empty object, because it would cast it to the correct return type anyways.
Right. So that was the first piece, right? Actually, that seems to resolve most of them. But it's just like we had the if statement, and if we didn't have a user, we just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But now,
so the if statement is still kind of a problem in this situation, because
okay,
the different parts to, I don't know, maybe use query and how you did it before was that the query function will always like run on the first render when you render your component, even though if the query is not yet ready, right? So what we need to do is we need to add everything that we are using inside the query function as a dependency to our query key. So since we are fetching posts for our, or was it post votes for our user, we need to put the user ID into the key, because that's what's going to give us the correct caching behavior, where we are going to cache it for a specific user ID. If the user ID changes, they wouldn't reuse the same data than the user had before.
Gotcha. Is this what you had meant just right
here?
Yeah,
exactly. Okay. So we say we want post user votes, and then for the user with the ID 5 or whatever. And then we still have the problem that, the user ID on the first render, it might be undefined. Right. And we actually don't want to run the query function at all if it's undefined. And yes, you can do an if statement and return an empty object. I think that's fine. It would just cache it as empty object for, the undefined user, right? Mm-hmm. But what you could also do is you could pass the enabled flag to use query and say, well, if I don't have a user ID in the session, I don't actually want to run the query. I want you to basically
what I want.
Skip it. Yeah.
How do I do that? You said add the flag, the enabled flag. Where
yeah,
do I
so
pass
it's
that?
it's another option. So we have query key, query function, and then it's enabled. Yeah, and then it can be a Boolean, and Copilot pretty much knows what it wants to do.
It knows, and then I could get rid of the if statement entirely, right?
You can get rid of the if statement. There is just one problem, and that is that TypeScript is not happy because it doesn't know that the query function is not going to be called. That's exactly what I've seen many people do. It's also in my blog. You can definitely do that. It's not a big deal. I think Alex, who made TRPC, said he's also doing it like that, because this is like one of the situations where we don't have much control over how TypeScript can infer what's going on. Yeah.
Well, this is me telling TypeScript to shut up, right? But this is like me saying, let's actually do a runtime check to make sure it's still there.
So there are actually cases. There are actually cases where even though you have set enable to false, the query function could run, but you would need to explicitly do this. So you would need to call refetch on that specific instance in order to make it run, even though it's disabled. So it's kind of like, it's not what people use enable for, hopefully. And if we just do it like this, then I think this is perfectly fine.
Okay. Do you have a preference between the bang or the question mark for this? For where my cursor's at?
I think at work we have an ESLint rule that forbids the bang operator. So it's kind of like...
at that point, I tell TypeScript to shut up, and then I tell ESLint to shut up. But... I know what I'm doing, but yeah. All right, I don't think it matters too much, right?
Yeah.
Because at this point, it's just it don't matter. But yeah, okay. So now we have our user post votes. Let's drop it in here. We're very close, I feel like, to getting rid of our useEffect. And we'll say constant user posts query. Yeah, and then, excuse me. Let's see. We want to, where are we setting my votes? So we want to get rid of this.
Yeah, and then we can say const my votes equals, and then.
I like this. This is not how I would have done it, but I do like it. What I would have done is wherever I had referenced my votes down below, I would have done here the query dot data.
Yeah.
Right. but I like this better because it means I don't have to touch as many lines in my code.
It's probably also how I would do it when I'm starting off fresh. But when you're refactoring and you kind of just want to change, like you have the variable name already, you could also destructure, right? You could instead of doing user post query, you could destructure data and rename it to my votes.
Yeah.
I mean that also works.
That's more fancy, so that's what we'll do on stream here, right?
Whatever gets you.
Whatever gets me what, Dominic?
Whatever you prefer, right? So,
okay, there we go. That seemed like it was going somewhere weird. But
what I actually meant is just do it in one line. So like we destruct it and then we say equals use user post votes.
Oh, I see.
Right? So we just because otherwise it doesn't make it. I wouldn't do it like that. So that kind of doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Throw this in. Get rid of this.
Yeah.
Should we do it up here too? Nah, I don't want to. I don't actually know off the top of my head how we do that or inside of the one-liner.
With a default value with equals. It's also pretty handy if you want it. But
all right, show me this because I'm not sure.
Okay, so cool. So it's that. Let's just do data and rename it to what's it? Total pages.
Yeah. Total pages.
And then you do equals 0.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Nice. I like it. I think I knew that somewhere in the back of my head. I'm just not used to doing that this way. I honestly, I don't like destructuring this way in general because I always forget in my head which side the actual property name goes on versus the variable name. So yeah.
Yeah. It kind of like with the renaming additionally to it, it looks like a type definition with the colon, and so it
looks like an object literal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's as well. Weird. So like the colon is a very overloaded operator actually that kind of has different meanings on depending on where you're going with. And also TypeScript couldn't. I mean, TypeScript got better, so it's not an issue anymore. But in the past, TypeScript couldn't keep type narrowing over distributed unions. When you destructured for example, the status field of use query, so then it didn't know that even though you checked for status success, it didn't know the data was defined. But now it does. So there's this got a bit better.
Gotcha.
Depending on which version you have, if you are.
Oh, that's neat. Okay, so that's that. I mean, should we go ahead and eliminate look how nice and small this useEffect is now. I love it. This was, let's see, just compare it. Look at all that. Gone. I guess that's what, 20 lines?
It's gone from the component. It's still there a bit further up, right?
Yeah.
So it's not in terms of total lines, it's probably not going to save you as much. But
I actually don't mind that because the context, like I have now abstracted this properly away in something that makes sense to me that I can get at by looking at, versus now, like I can see at least everything that's coming before the render. I can see all of this in very manageable screen, and we're still going to get rid of this last one, I hope. So
yes,
so that would be much better. So let's do. I guess let's copy this one because this one's probably more appropriate. And we'll call it this one. Use. I guess get posts. Posts.
Yep, that's
and
fine.
This will be. So this one's interesting. Maybe this one will be interesting. I don't know. The idea is, I guess so. This would be. What would my key be? So this is giving us all of the posts for the page. What would you name it in this scenario?
Well, you could go just with posts, but this has a bit of a drawback because if you want to use posts as kind of our starting indicator that we're working with posts, then we cannot effectively target it only this one specific cache entry. So we could do posts and then all, for example. That always works, like it's all the posts. Or it could be posts and then just page, because we are going to have to add the page number to the query key as well.
Gotcha. So page number, and we'll want to, I guess, pass in the page number here as well.
Yeah. So let's
we'll
just
say,
I would just call use params again. Actually, it just
okay. I think, let's see. I think this is the only place that's relevant. Oh no, I guess we do use it there, but
yeah.
So can't get rid of
so
it.
So this is how you compose this is pretty much up to you. So you can compose it like this with calling use params again. You can have a page number parameter being passed into your custom hook, and then you pass it down.
That was my instinct, actually.
Yeah. There's no real preference for me. It might become like if you call use get posts like on 5 different pages, and every time you have to call use params and pass the page number in, and it's always dependent on the same like page number from the URL, then you probably just want to abstract it like that so that you don't have to think about it, right? The hook becomes more kind of self-contained and self-managed, but in that way.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, let's grab this here. I guess I'll grab all of this for now. I don't know this seems like I'm being silly about something. I guess.
Nah, page number is a string and you're just turning it into a number, I guess.
Yeah, I think what I'm doing. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So we'll just drop that inside of our query function. You can get rid of promise.all. I guess we could leave it in there, but why would we? We'll do async await constant data,
and then we can just return that.
Yep. Return.
Yep.
And how's this looking?
Looks good.
Okay. My instinct is always to check the type inference to make sure that this is like what it should be. Is that the right approach? Or
I also do that. Yeah, it's a good approach.
Good deal.
You don't want to leak you don't want to leak any's from like your custom hooks.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I would prefer. I wish I had the thing set up with the Supabase client, because their type safety around, like, based on the database is actually quite nice. I guess Jay Larkin, I know you had asked this a while ago, man, but I don't use Drizzle when I use Supabase, because I just use the type safety provided by Supabase. Now I kind of like running the Postgres, just writing the Postgres myself for like the DDL for my database. So that's why I do things this way. I actually haven't messed with Drizzle that much though, so I don't know enough to say don't use it. But yeah, when I'm using Supabase, I just like to write Postgres or SQL for a lot of that stuff. But yeah, we'll say git post, use git post. That's our post data. And are we all set? Is that it? You get rid. Is our useEffect gone?
Yes, but I think you have to name it posts, because that's how it's like called in. Yeah, and then you can remove line 71.
Yes.
And then we are pretty much done. And I hope this still works. And then we can.
You have no idea how much satisfaction I'm going to get from removing this line, because I hated this. So
the bumper, yeah, that's gonna go. I hope
bumper. So. And also, well, okay, this piece might be interesting. So we got rid of the bumper, but now we've got this error on line 88. So this is my way of saying, when I've cast a new vote, invalidate the cache. But I actually don't want to invalidate the cache for all 3 of my queries. I only want to invalidate the cache for my votes.
Yeah, perfect.
Query. So I think we shot ourselves in the foot by destructuring this way, right?
No, it's fine. It's fine. We don't need anything else. So, like, we can do that, or we can try to. Let's do that first, and then we could, as a next step, for example, refactor it, like the voting process itself, to a mutation, because React Query also offers the use mutation hook to actually do that, and then it kind of combines this a bit better. But what we can do is, instead of this set bumper, now we would need access to the query client. So you can do you can call use query client and get it yourself.
Use query client.
Yep. And then instead of incrementing the bumper, we are going to do query client dot invalidate queries. And then in the new syntax in version 5, it also takes just an object. So we would need an object, and we pass it the query key. Yeah, exactly. And then we say which thing do we want to invalidate. And now comes the story of the hierarchy and the things that we have. If we want to just do the user votes, we just pass, I would just pass posts and user votes. We don't even need to define like which user we want it for, because this will target all of them. So if we say, hey, we only want like the user votes, we do this, it would just, look at all of them that kind of match this in a fuzzy matching way. So it has to start with posts. The next element has to be user votes. And if it has 10 more after that, they're all targeted with this.
Yeah, that would probably never happen. Like the idea is like there's only it would be very weird for one user or one session to have multiple users active in it at the same time. So,
but the standard use case for this that I like to describe is, imagine you have like filters for your posts, right? So you can filter them for, I don't know, a date or some search string from the user, and then all of these filters are going to go into the query key. So now when you add a new post, or you like one of them and you want to invalidate it, you might not want to invalidate only the specific one where the user has one. You want to invalidate all of them so that it refetches the active one and it marks the other one as stale, so that when you switch back between the filters, you also get the latest value. This is kind of what the invalidation does for you.
Yeah, I like that. Aryan, I was just about to say this too. I love how clean it looks. Like I've got, this is ridiculously zoomed in for me. This is I'm normally around here. Sometimes I'm down here, but like being able to have it at this zoom level and see it all, like this is my component. This is so much better. This is so much nicer than what it had been before. Let's just like, this is what it had been before. Just scrolling. I guess the git diffs kind of makes it worse than it seems, but
yeah, I really like that React query kind of like nudges you towards doing it that way. But if I'm honest, I have to say, like, we could have done this with useEffect as well, right? This is not so much about React query as it's about like building abstractions and custom hooks on top of other hooks. So you could make a use get post hook that returns the posts and does a useEffect inside of it, right? It becomes an implementation detail. You don't really care about it.
Right. It's like there's a data bus going on now too. And actually, I think this would help for cross-component communication as well. Like I think essentially what I'm doing right now is when I go to a new page, so right now we're on this page where we can see all the posts. And when I click into one of these posts, we just do like a new fetch for this post and all of its children. Yeah. Which, I mean, I think we'll probably still do, but we could have kept this one, so yeah, it would be nice in some other situations where, hey, we've already got all of our posts and then we go to another page that happens to have a lot of those same posts. It would be nice to just say, hey, let's just use the cache. Let's use the data layer to pull those things out. Right.
Absolutely. We can do that. So there are also like multiple ways on how to do that inside the post. If it's a separate endpoint, it probably becomes its own query with its own resource, but we can actually pre-fill it with data from the list cache if the list cache has already all the information that we need.
Yeah, because you'll notice there's I don't like that.
There's like this flash.
Yeah. So we have the information here. Like with this, we have actually all the information, even some stuff we're not showing yet. But when we click here, we have that flash because we're waiting for the response to come back. And like the data that I had fetched before already we could have taken advantage of it, and we were not. Can we try to fix that?
Yeah, let's do it. Easy.
Okay.
So
let's go to, I think that's just, let me see. If I look at our router, that's going to be page number. So that's going to be post view is our component here. This might get a little crazy. No, it's not too bad. This one useEffect right here. And I have a type error, so it would be nice to fix that too. I think that was, I just recently bumped the version, so I think we got new types with one of the versions that didn't fail my end-to-end test, but yeah, I missed it, I suppose. So let's see if we can get rid of this. So interestingly,
there's also a bumper there. Interesting. Okay.
I use the bumper a lot. I use that bumper a lot. I don't like it. I don't like myself for it, but it gets a lot of use. Okay, should we try to? Is the first step to getting this in, like turning this useEffect into its own hook that uses React query?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll say use post detail, and then this is a function. Is post detail, and we'll return use query.
Yeah.
And here we'll give it a query key, post detail.
It's pretty good already. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. So originally, my first iteration of this, you can kind of see residue. I actually was using, I wasn't using Remix, but I was using React Router. I still am using React Router. So I started out with these loaders in order to build my data fetching into the router. I ended up pulling that out because I didn't want to go too deep into React Router. And we wanted to keep this actually very generic. So we wanted to, for the course, we wanted to make sure there wasn't many other dependencies. So that's my query function. I guess, do we want to do something here where we make it something async, or?
Well, it doesn't really do anything, right? It just, if I take a look at what you've implemented, it calls the loader, and then it just takes it, and it seems like it could be undefined.
Yeah. Let's see. What's going on with my post detail loader? It returns params, which is wait, no. See, that's where this weird type definition, the
exactly.
colon operator got overloaded me. I thought that was the return type, but it's not.
It has no return type. Yeah.
I have no return type. Yeah, I just say infer it, and it's not doing a great job of that right now. I'll be honest. That's all right. We can fix it, I think. Let's say, well, do we want to be explicit about it, or let's see.
Well, this is one of the things that I usually try to ensure is that the function that I'm using inside the query function does have a good type, so that the type inference works. So if the post detail loader is the function where you are getting back a bunch of any's from the Supabase client, then this is where I would do all the typos, and it would kind of like constrain the any's as much as possible to one function only, in order to not make it spread further. So if you somehow,
I'm actually surprised. Like right now, the post map is I would have expected it to get this type. I guess I'm wrong on that, but I think by adding this here, will that fix our post? Yes.
Yeah.
And then comments, probably same thing.
So I'm just gonna plug another library of mine that I'm maintaining for this, because it started out with like one of the things that I think JavaScript got really good with methods on arrays, like flat map and stuff like that, where it took away the need for like little tool libraries. like Lodash, for example, which is not little, but it's a very often
It's tree
used
shakeable now, right?
library for that.
So,
It is, it is. But the types are not great, and this is where kind of the story comes in of Remeda, which is another library I'm maintaining, which has is written in TypeScript, has great types, and offers some of those utility functions as well. And one function that we also have that's very often used is a way to transform arrays into objects, kind of in a map and a flat map way. But instead of going from an array to an array, you go into an object, because that is, I
you
think,
don't like
where
my head roll reduces over here.
This is. I have a blog post on reduce as well, but this is where like I think reduce is most often used is, oh, I have an array and I want to go into one object.
Right.
And it's such a
That's
common
exactly
use
what
case.
these are. Yeah.
It's such a common use case that we've put this into the library. I think it's called map to object and flat map to object, and you can just like call this function, iterate over it, and you don't, and it's actually kind of inferring the types for you correctly. So you don't need. One of the drawbacks of reduce is that like the initial object always needs to have the correct type, and kind of the initial value also comes last, so you kind of have to skim to the end to see what you're actually doing, and then go back to the implementation of the function.
Well, and then the inferred type here on the votes is actually not correct. I need to. It's like I need to specify the type twice in order to have it right. Like,
and maybe you can remove it now from the initial value. I don't know if that works.
I don't think so. I think we'll get an error here. I'm wrong. You're right. All right, let's. I think we could do it here too. I swear it used to be this way, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just remembering wrong. But there's that. Comments. I think comments is right. Let's see if we look at the return type promise of that or that. My votes is either. I wish this was just not here in this type union, but I think that works. You see what? Did you see what was happening there?
Well, it kind of has a union type, and in one situation it's either record, and in the other it's undefined. But I don't know why it displays it like that, because there is no discriminator for this union that I can see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like the first type was coming from here. Like in this scenario.
Oh, yeah, if you return like different objects in different paths of your function, then you will get the union type. Yeah.
Yep. So that's where it's coming from. But I had assumed my votes just wouldn't be present on the first option of the union. But it's coming in like this, which is surprising to me.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I guess it works.
But at least it means you can call .myvotes without having to like check it, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's our post detail loader. And then inside of here, we got it. It's still got that interestingness, but yeah, we got it. So you can say here, constant, I guess I'll just say post detail query for now.
Yeah. And then maybe one question. So we are not passing the post ID to the post detail loader yet. Does the post detail loader not take any parameters as input, or like? We need to actually invoke the function as well. So.
Then maybe I'm misunderstanding. Yeah. So the post detail loader. Oh yes. Okay, I see what you're saying. We need to give it params of a post ID and then the user context. So I'm like parameterizing it here.
Yeah.
So we'll need to load those up. So we get the params like so. So where are we getting them here? So we can copy this in. In here we'll say like return this.
And then you can also just copy it from the bottom, I guess, with the params and user context. And then the user context we need to grab with the use context again. Yeah.
Then post
And then
ID.
we need to fix ChatGPT's auto thingy in line 89, where we're still calling use params. So we can just pass in the params.postID here. Yeah.
Yeah. And then where is post ID coming from? Param post ID.
Oh, that was coming in as a prop. Yeah, so we also need that. So
that one we'll need to do as a param, yeah? Or
yeah.
Okay.
So that's interesting. Okay. So we aren't actually using the so we're either using the one from the prop or the one from the use params.
Right.
Okay.
I believe that's what's going on here.
Okay,
so
but then we need to extract
key too.
We need to extract this to a local variable, like what you're doing in line 92, like this condition, like which post ID we're using. We should probably put this into a variable.
Okay, so we'll want to say constant. I don't know, actual params.
I don't know.
Yeah, equals post ID. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can just put that into the query key. Yeah.
Actual params and yeah.
And
there's a red. What is that red? What did I do?
There's a curly bracket missing. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, got it. Braces are hard.
So what's the can you quickly show me what the user context is actually doing?
Sure. So user context over here. So we create a context of, this is like my user info. I believe if we trace to where this is like provided at, we have this use session hook that I'm using for that. So come into use session. This is using stuff on the JavaScript clients again. So this is going to hook into their auth client to get their session, to get changes to the auth state. We're also going to listen to user profile changes. This is actually a table instead of our like public schema.
That's
if that makes
this
sense.
One. Yeah.
So.
Okay, cool. And what are you using it for inside the post detail loader actually?
Let's see. Which file was that here? So the post detail loader, we're using that user so we're saying if there is no user logged in, we're just going to return the posts in the comments. It's similar to what we had done before. Otherwise, we're going to also want to get the votes.
Okay. But that means we're actually also depending on the user and the user ID. So this is kind of like where, I mean, if you don't have this situation that the user ID can change and then your component re-renders, then you can probably disregard this situation if you say this is only be logged out or not. But if this query runs while you have one user and then the user changes, or maybe like it runs before the user is logged in and then the user logs in,
right?
You will get in a situation where you're kind of like sharing a cache with something that probably shouldn't be shared with each other. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I see. It's almost like, so in the one we had been looking at before here, all posts, we had like the 3 different hooks.
Yeah.
And here we have one hook that's kind of doing all 3 of those things again, but it's putting them all into one thing inside of this loader.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm kind of like okay with that, for at least for the stream. I think if this was real life, I'd be like, okay, let's split this out into 3 different hooks. But for this,
what I would do probably is, instead of passing the whole context, I would probably just pass in the user ID and then put that into the query key as well, just to be on the safe side. Because we actually have an ESLint plugin that you can use. Actually, maybe we should use that if that's, because that will tell you that your user context should be added to the query key, because it's one of those very hard to debug problems if you're using something inside the query function that is not part of the query key. So, and here we are actually closing over the user context. And if the context is an object with serializable props in them, we can also put the whole thing into the query key. That's not a problem. But if like the post detail loader doesn't need the whole context, it only needs like the user or the user ID itself.
Right.
So I would probably refactor that as well to just put. But this is something we could also do off stream. It's just just one of those tiny things to.
For now, would it make sense to just do like user context? I don't know.
Yeah, if that would be technically correct, but this is not something the linter would know because it doesn't actually see what's inside the post detail loader, and it's also kind of an implicit coupling because at any point in time you could refactor the post detail loader to use something else out of that context. So if this were a real application, I would really minimize the parameters we put to the loader to only the things that we're actually using, and then it would become clear what has to go into the query key and whatnot.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, should we push ahead with this? I'd like to see if we can get rid of the flash. Is that still in the realm of possibilities? It seems like it is.
Absolutely. So let's remove the effect and just because that's the one that we're getting rid of. Yep.
So here we'll need to add the post ID, and I don't see any reds. That's concerning.
There should be some red. Oh, because you haven't removed the state yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get rid of that, and
now we need to rename it to post detail data.
We'll do it the lame way. Post detail data equals data like that, and let's spell that right. Sorry. Okay, so right now this is this or undefined, right? Because we could still be loading it.
Or we could have an error as well. That's always the kind of like if the fetch fails, you are in error state. You also don't have data. So what you can do is you can fall back to whatever you had as your initial state for your use state.
Okay.
You can just like I don't know what it was, but I think it was an object with whatever. Yeah, it was an object with posts, null, and empty comments.
Yeah, let me grab that.
Yeah.
Let's go back and oh shoot, I lost my space. Here we are. Okay. Something weird happened there. Okay. Or that object literal.
Yep.
That's where we're at. Okay, good deal. Still not like this. What's going on here?
Yeah, well, because that's the problem of the OR operator. I think the array is probably
was there something going on there before that we didn't bring over?
No, that wasn't really. But you said on the use state, you said on the use state in line 81 on the left side, you basically set the type to post detailed data, and maybe that's a bit of a different interface than what actually is inferred now. Yeah. So we would need to probably put that on the like the const post detailed data. We could just give it the type like as a type annotation, and then it should probably work.
Okay. So copy like this is what you mean, or?
Well, I meant after like const post detail data and then colon and then like this post detail data. Yeah. And if that errors, then we know there's something wrong with that. So whatever we are assigning somewhere. So now it gives us a better error at least. It says type undefined is not assignable to post or null. but I don't immediately see where. What is post?
Post should be like all of the information.
Okay, then
like
let's
all
look
of the
into
post information.
then let's look into our into our query again, because it seems like this is not what we are returning from it.
Yeah, let's see.
Well, it says the post is up or down or undefined. I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
Can you go to the loader again? Because I think that's where you kind of, maybe there's just a one type assertion that's wrong. Yeah, you said the post map is a record of string and then up or down or undefined. I think that's wrong.
Right.
It looks like copy paste error or something. And because it's any, it just works.
Right.
Any
right.
is so hard to work with.
Yeah, it is. So this is
So it's string and then post probably, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Did that get rid of it?
And now it complains on comments.
Property of comments are incompatible. So in one, it expects like an array. No, it's not assignable to depth first. It's missing the properties. Oof. I'm tempted to just do. Does that fix?
It's not that
that
one.
doesn't
It's not the initial value. It's what we return from the
post
detail query. That's something in the loader. There's too many any's for me to see what's actually going on.
Yeah, I know. Same here. Comments. What is this here? String to any.
That's the problem. That's not the that it should be an array of depth first comment or something, and not an array of an object that's basically string and any.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. Right. So this data right here, we want to give that a type. How do I do that when I'm destructuring like this? Do
you don't. That's the problem. You don't.
Okay. Good deal. I guess we could do something like data temp, and then say down here like const data temp as post array.
But it's not post array. It's is it? Or is it? Maybe it is.
I don't know. Let's see. It's post array. Single post with comments. I think there's a different type. Is this where the depth first comment?
No, that's just a comment that must be inside the post.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the error now? Is it post.id or what's the? Oh, now you might get the error back from your from your initial value that you said was there before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It all's coming back to us. All right.
Okay, but there's still something red. I don't. Okay. You know what? For now, just put an as any on line 106, and then we're good to go.
Okay, let's do that. We got end-to-end tests. We'll catch it.
Yeah.
If we've effed it up.
Okay, so the thing we actually wanted to do was to pull in data into our detail query from the actual list query that we already have. And one way to do that, the way I would do it probably in this situation, is with a feature that's called placeholder data. Because placeholder data is some data that we can use to show while we are fetching our query that is the actual detail query. And if we have some data in a different cache entry, we can use that here.
Nice. That's exactly what we want, I think, right?
Yeah.
So.
And one problem that we now have is like we have these custom hooks, but we don't have them exported. Or this is probably where I would say, okay, I would just maybe move all those things to a separate file and keep them there, because what we now need is we need access to the query key, and this is where it kind of pays off if you take those queries and put them all into one file, like post queries or whatever. But for now, we can just hard code the query key that we need and look at it. So let's let's go to our detail query, and there are actually two things we can use, right? One would be placeholder data, and the other one would be initial data. And the only difference is, or one of the core differences between those two is, initial data is treated as like actually good data that gets persisted to the cache, while placeholder data is just something that we show until the actual data comes back.
Okay.
So if what
Sounds
we
like
have
we actually need is initial data then, yeah?
Yeah, if it's an exactly good data that like has the same structure and everything, then we can just use initial data for this. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll say the thing I'm curious about in particular is like we're not necessarily sure what the page number is, but this is part of our query key at the moment for where we're stashing this initially. Is that going to be an issue?
Well, we are basically sure because we can take it from the use params. We can just take the page number again.
But by the time we've hit this page, that we won't have that as part of our URL anymore. Like that won't be.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like this was, if we go back to, I know it's really small, but I don't know how to change the URL. But yeah, so here we're on message board /1. So that means we're on page 1. And that's part of our query key right now. But when I click in here, like 1 is gone. We've now moved to the post route. And we just have the post and the ID. Is there a way we could like say, hey, give me all of these? Like give me all of the ones starting with this?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
There is, but then it kind of means like we need to look through more stuff. But it's actually also where the query key hierarchy comes into play. This is something that we definitely can do. Yeah. So let's make initial data be a function.
Okay.
Just so that it's kind of like only executed once, and then we need access to the query client. So we need to get that from use query client.
Okay. Constant query. Use query client. So we'd say here query client dot.
And then the function we are looking for is probably get queries data. So usually you would do get query data. If you know the exact key, you can just get the data from a specific key. But as you just said, we don't know the key. We need to kind of try and find it in a kind of a fuzzy way. So get queries data. Now we can say post and page, which is the start of our like query key.
Mm-hmm.
And then
do we need, does this take a
it's an object, it's an object with query key. So we need to we want basically a fuzzy lookup where we can filter things. So we can say, okay, I'm going to look in my cache and I'm going to find everything that has posts page. And then this is probably going to be an array of stuff. Yeah, it's so we return the actual query key alongside the data. The data is typed to unknown because we don't know what's in the query key. You can, if you know what's in there, you can give the get queries data function a generic, and then it's kind of like, if we know it's post data array, right? Yeah, so we can do this. Perfect.
I may need to export this. Where is this? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
Export. Let's do a little more drilling between our files.
Yeah.
We're good.
So now we can see what posts are, and it's now an array of, and then it has query key, and in the second parameter it has post data array or undefined. And then we can kind of like, we have to
do we want to like flat map this?
Arrays. Yeah. We have to flat it a bunch of.
Would you like nested loop, or would you flat map? What would your preference be for working with?
I don't think I've written a loop in years. I will probably map and flat map until TypeScript is happy with it.
Okay,
like that.
So we'll say something like post dot flat map. It's been a while since I've done flat map. I don't really remember what it looks like, but does it just look like map? It just
It looks
automatically
like map
flattens
and it
for
gets
us?
in the element. Yeah.
Okay. So here we'll say, I mean, I guess it's just that, right? And then we filter or we find.
Well, let's see what is X. Can you show me what X is?
Yeah, X is a query key
So
or
there's
post.
query key and post data array. So I would destructure that into like using the first, like only the first element. Yeah, exactly. And then inside of it, it would be X dot find. Yeah.
Stuff find. Good job, Copilot, I guess.
Yeah. So now we have can you just show what the result of this, like assign the result into a constant?
Sorry, I'm working on my typing, but it's a slow process. Target is either post data or undefined
it's still an array because we have done flat map. Actually, we also just want to find, right? It's like a nested find. So it's
would it not just be like this and then X? What does that do? Yeah, that's what we wanted, right?
Oh yeah, that also works. So you flat map it into like only the all the elements.
That's what I was thinking initially.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, perfect. You're
just
better at this than me.
No, you're the Rabda guy, dude. I just flop it around trying to remember what flat map does. But okay, so we got the target. So that's our post data. So here we want to
we can just return it.
Return it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
So yeah, from the initial data function. So
okay.
The initial data function runs once when the query is created, and it then tries to pull in that data into your cache. And if it's undefined, that's fine. We just say, okay, there is no data that we can use. We're just going to run the query anyway.
Yeah, but wouldn't I throw this inside of an array because that's what our query function is going to be returning?
Well, we need to return the exact same thing that our query function returns. That's true.
Okay.
So it's an object with post, right? I guess.
Yeah. So we would just want to do like So it would be post is like that, and we'd have there's no comments yet. So here's our initial comments. You got nothing.
I think that's also why TypeScript wasn't really happy.
It's still not happy. What doesn't it like here? My votes. My votes.
And undefined. An empty object. Or does undefined work? Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. It still doesn't like it. If I gave it this, I don't think that'll change it.
And then let's just quickly read the error, like the good parts of it.
It's hard to get to the good parts.
Yeah.
Is this it?
Type post data or undefined comments, never array. Okay. My votes last time type post comments post array. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to check for if target because it doesn't allow us to return. I think the whole thing needs to be undefined. If we can't return an object where the post is undefined.
Okay.
Right, so we can return undefined from initial data, but if we return something, it has to match the actual type.
Okay, so we'll say target,
and then otherwise undefined. Okay. Yeah, so that takes away one of the errors. The other error I've seen is that so it says post data comments never array, and it wants post to be a post array. So the empty array needs to be like, whatever, post.
What was it? Post array?
Post array, yeah.
Still
and then I was hoping it would work. Maybe the my votes is, can we not leave out the my votes? Yeah, my votes needs to be, let's just leave that out. Why doesn't this work?
Well, it's post data and post. I thought this would be the same. Or at least it would, we would be able to make it work. Wait, it doesn't.
Well,
Does
if
it
it's
not like undefined?
no, the problem is not the undefined, because we can return undefined from initial data.
Oh, it's a function returning this versus.
Yeah.
Is this the issue right here?
No, that's not I think you got the issue right. It's post data versus post in the type.
Okay, so if I just did as any, yeah, that does get rid of it. Okay, I don't know if is that what we want to do? Just
no.
get through it,
the question is, what is in the cache? Is it an array of post data, or is it an array of post? I don't know.
Post data.
I can't tell.
Yeah, let's see. Where's my post? Here. Did these? Okay, so there is more information over here. I think, but the information we're actually getting back from the client is like this interface is. It implements the data that comes back does implement this interface, but it actually more accurately reflects this. I think. So
okay, but they're not extending one another. So I think, if you're telling me it works at runtime, then you can just do like target as post, right? TypeScript is not happy with that.
Does not like it now.
Maybe a mistake is okay. Well, so it really says what you're trying to do, but okay, then do the as any. This is just a question of like how the things are really stored. So
this is the side of ultimate defeat.
it's the same as any. It's not really.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, at least okay. Yeah, it's just do like as any here. Let's see.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if
I think it's still dangerous, because we are actually putting data into the cache that is not the correct shape. And if you're going to use something in your code, like the what's a field that's not present on the post data, can you scroll up a bit? Yeah, so if you're using, for example, author name and you're expected to be a string.
Oh, that actually might not be there. That's true.
Yeah.
So it is kind of saving us there. So I think part of that is, I wonder if we could just do something where we have like some function over here, function
that creates a post out of post data. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just gives us an empty author name or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Post data. Yeah. That'll give us something nice. So post is a post data. We'll call this actually post data, because otherwise I'll get confused.
Yeah, and it returns a post. Yeah.
Return, spread that. Post data.
Yeah, so TypeScript is actually trying to save us from doing something stupid, and we just need to understand what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. So author name, we'll just put that empty.
Comments, we need an empty array. Path, we need. There's actually.
Yeah, I'm starting to worry that this might break something else somewhere down the line if these aren't set right. But created at. Let's give it like that. What else doesn't it have? It wants content. So this one I think actually might be in there. So here I might say post data as any dot content.
Oh, you think it's in there? It's just not in the types.
Yeah, that's my expectation for the content, at least. I think like the author name actually. I think, unless I'm misremembering, that's going to be like we're like marshalling that in via the loader. I want to say, but that's off of recollection, not off of actually seeing it. But let's see if we can use this now, where we had that as any. Where is that?
Line 113. Yeah.
Yep. And here we'll say target post from post data target. All right, now we're happy.
Cool.
Okay. Do you want to see if it works? I'm curious now.
Sure. Or if it breaks, let's see.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I got. Do I have any stuff seeded in right now? Let's sign up for an account. TkDodo.
Yay.
There we go. Your username is TkDodo. Welcome, TkDodo. So here, I didn't notice the flash. It's going real quick though because this is local. Let's see. I wonder if I could set like a breakpoint to check it. But the idea would be we'd see this one first, and then after the request came through, we'd see the rest of it, right? Okay, I go to my source, and here it was the post detail. My
Actually, I have an idea to build this into the query DevTools, that we can do a kind of a slowdown for the queries, an artificial one.
Can we do that?
Not yet. No, it's just an idea that I just had the idea. I just want to do it.
Oh, I guess. Speaking
or
of
if Arian
that,
is still here, he can also.
Yeah. I think our followers have been dwindling. That's all right. There's a way to do it like at like the network tab where I just turn this to slow.
There's throttling at the top. You can make it just slower.
All right.
But the problem is now our cache is primed, so we really shouldn't see a if you do the browser back button, we really shouldn't see a flash. Yeah.
Yeah. But if we came back here and if we do like query's not doing anything where it's like loading to local storage or anything, is it?
Not per default. There's a persister plugin that you can use, but like if you just reload the page now, it will be gone. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, that's pretty slow.
Well, yeah.
That's really slow.
Well, that's all the JavaScript sources. That's the problem with the throttling in the DevTools, which is why I wanted because we only want to throttle actually our queries and not downloading JavaScript. That's the problem. Yeah. But maybe you can turn it off again and then turn it on before you make the switch to the next page. Otherwise, we'll be waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, good call. Oh no, it's still not there.
Interesting. Okay.
I guess we must have done something wrong inside of that, but I don't know. You want to try to figure that out, or?
Well, if you open the query DevTools, then we probably should be able to.
Okay.
Okay, by now it has the correct data, so it will be difficult to actually see what's going on inside of it.
Okay, so we want to go back to here. We'll hit a refresh, and let me turn on no throttling refresh.
Let's just hit a quick breakpoint in the initial data function, because I think that's where it's going wrong.
In which file now? The
detail file, yeah. Where we have the initial data function.
Right here. Hit a breakpoint like right there, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And here, yeah.
Okay. So let's turn network. I guess we don't.
No,
really
we don't need to throttle. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We just need to go back to the list first, and then reload the page, and then.
Yeah. Well, so we're on the list. We'll reload. And can I drag this down? Yeah. Okay. So here we'll hit this.
Yeah. So let's step over this to see if we're getting the correct. If there's anything. Do we have something in the posts? Yes, we do. Okay. Can we see what's in there? Post page 1, and then the other thing is an empty array. So for some reason oh no, there it is. Cool.
There it is. Yeah, it's here.
Yeah.
It doesn't have content, unfortunately. So I was wrong about that. But
and if it doesn't have content, it shows it is empty. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But it should at least have the title, and it wasn't showing the title.
Okay. Well then, do another step over and go to line 112.
Did we find the target? No, we didn't find the target.
So we made a mistake somewhere in the. Maybe the ID. Is it like a string and a number ID thingy? Are
Let's find
they?
out. Post ID undefined. Oh, that's not good. Post ID. Oh, because it's that's a pain in the butt.
Oh, we have
We've
this
got to do
actual
like actual
params dot
params dot
stop post
post
ID. Yeah.
ID.
Okay. Okay.
That's what
Cool.
it's got to be, I think, and then we should
Yeah.
see it. So here, actual params dot post ID. There you go. Now let's reprime that whole this whole
Try
thing.
again.
Play. All right, back to the list. Refresh.
Yeah.
Boom.
Breakpoint.
Okay. Let me throw on slow because I feel like this is going to work this time, and we might want to see it. Right. So step. Target here. We
target
have the
is
target.
Something. Yes,
target acquired.
Right. Nice one. Okay, that was a relatively easy fix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. See, we've got some stuff. We don't have the content yet. Like we legitimately just don't have it, so we can't show anything there. Maybe we could have done like some interesting like skeleton thing here to show, hey, it's coming. But it's very obvious where all this stuff fits together for me. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, Aryan's still here. What's up, dude? The loyal fans. But yeah, this is really cool. Can we see? I'm curious. So we use like the standard DevTools to debug a lot of this. It seems like we should have been able to use a lot of this stuff though. Like
so you can take a look at what is actually stored in the query cache. So if you open like the top one, the post detail, we can look into the data explorer on the right side now and see what our post and comments and the roles are. And we have some controls at the top where we can, for example, refetch the query to get latest data. And one thing that Arian was pointing at is the new things, the trigger loading and trigger error. So you can take the DevTools and say, I wanna take a look at how does it look like if this query is in a loading state or in an error state.
Now we didn't do any of that because we just said there's either data or there's nothing. But
so if you go into loading state, this is what you will see when the user reloads the page. So this is also like something where you can kind of like debug a little bit and see, okay, how will my application look if it takes longer to fetch data? How will my application look if I go into an error state and so on?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Our contents is gone now. After did I do something wrong?
No, there's one distinct problem in this UX. If you click, can you reload the page now? Because if you click trigger loading, you have to click restore loading before you click anything else, and this is because otherwise it hangs in a loading state. So yeah, you have to click restore loading, and then you can do trigger error. And I've been and there's like you have no error handling, so there's nothing going on.
So okay, so I broke it by triggering error while I'm in here. So we need to like disable that button, I guess probably.
It probably should just be one button that has which state do you want to be in, and then you have like, okay, I want to be in loading state. No, I want to be in error state, and so on. I kind of like commented this on the contribution initially. But then I said, you know what? Let's just ship it the way it is. If it's a bit broken, we can always iterate on it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you guys use SSR for this? If not, how would you add it? No, I don't use SSR for this. This is all clients. This is all spa. I like spas. Maybe I'm weird. I'm excited to get more into server stuff with the rest of the community, obviously, but something about me that I like. I like some sort of architecture where I think of each browser as like a node in a distributed system. That's how I always think about this kind of stuff. So yeah, but yeah, I think we hit a lot of stuff here. Dominik.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks so much.
I think it's cool.
Thanks so much for coming by. I'm sorry we went way over again. But I had a great time.
That's always with the two of us, I guess. It's like second time now.
we love our flat maps, and we love to take a lot of time. Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming by, man. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much for having me.
You
It was
got it.
cool.
All right. Let's wrap it up. We'll catch y'all next time.
Cool.